afternoon. My name is Michelle Abad and I'm a multimedia reporter from Rappler. I'm coming to you live from the Senate, where we just finished the 4 to 5 hour committee hearing from the joint committee hearing of the Senate committees on on education and youth, which took up a resolution looking at the rising numbers of adolescent pregnancies and HIV cases among the youth. Although the resolution focused on those two things, what really stood front and center of the hearing was the issue of adolescent pregnancies, which has been in the headlines for around 1 to 2 weeks already, especially after a viral video from a religious coalition came out calling out comprehensive sexuality education. So really, what came out of the hearing and what was the most pressing or urgent concern was comprehensive sexuality education, and how Senator Win Gatchalian, who chairs the Committee on Education, said it was better off to suspend the implementation of the Department of Education order on comprehensive sexuality education if its implementation was still confusing. So I'll go into what happened during the hearing and a little bit about the debate that ensued on comprehensive sexuality education, since there were advocates. All of them were child rights advocates, but they were on different opinions. Some of them were more progressive and some of them were on the conservative side, which included former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, who is the face of Project Dalisay, which is the religious coalition that did sound the alarm on these alleged inappropriate concepts in comprehensive sexuality or some comprehensive sexuality education, or CSE. So it did come amid that controversy, so let's put that into the context. And also, this hearing did not necessarily tackle the bill itself, because the bill is on for debate already at the plenary level. So Senator Win Gatchalian did first and foremost talk to the DepEd. There were 3 representatives in the room for DepEd who were to answer questions about the CSE. And so the DepEd said that they have been able to train 400,000 teachers on CSE, which is about the halfway point of around 800,000 teachers who are supposed to be teaching CSE. So they prioritize teachers who handle adolescent level students. And when we say adolescents, we mean students or learners who are 10 to 19 years old, who might be already exposed to culture on sex and sexuality, who are also going through puberty. So the hearing was also a space to debunk a few of the misleading claims that were in the video of Project Dalisay, including how the international standards that guided the comprehensive sexuality education would allegedly teach inappropriate concepts like childhood masturbation for children aged 0 to 4 years old. And so Senator Risa Ontiveros, who is the principal author of the contested bill, Senate Bill 1979, she asked if CSE hinders parents' involvement in teaching their children about sexuality, and she asked if children aged 0 to 4 are taught about masturbation. And the DepEd categorically denied it. They said that DepEd Assistant Secretary Janir Datukan said that it's malayo sa katotohanan, or very, very far from the truth. So that is some of the debunking parts of the hearing. And then later on, the people on the floor also talked about the alleged disconnect in the DO, the Department Order 31, and what is actually being implemented on the ground. So Senator Gatchalian flagged a disconnect in Department Order 31, which is again the basis of CSE in schools, saying that the RH law mandates sexuality education for adolescents, whereas the DO 31 of DepEd says that CSE should be for all learners. So see the disconnect there. Some say adolescents only, and the other document says all learners. So Senator Gatchalian flagged that might be causing confusion. And then so the DepEd responded by saying that sex education proper is still for aged 10 to 19, which is adolescents, but younger learners will gain foundational knowledge that will prepare them for sex education proper, such as parts of the body, biology, puberty, the senses. And so the DepEd said that they will review the CSE, which has been already reported before that Education Secretary Sonny Angara also said that they would review CSE so that it would be, more age appropriate to address any of the concerns of the conservative groups. And so they reiterated earlier today, the DepEd, that that they would review CSE to address the confusion. So there was also time on the floor for former Chief Justice Sereno to put out her views, and she did have a very long manifestation. She talked about her views for about 40 minutes, basically reiterating what they had said in the viral video, that there were some international standards from the UNESCO and WHO which would guide the comprehensive sexuality education, which she deemed inappropriate or not culturally appropriate for Philippine context. So the DepEd said that these references from the UNESCO and WHO were only there as reference, and they were not meant to dictate what teachers were going to teach their children or their students. But Gatchalian said that since this is still a reference for CSE, it can still cause confusion among teachers. And so the DepEd also was asked continuously and persistently if they could show the actual curriculum for CSE so that we could actually compare what is being shown by the conservative groups and what is actually being taught in schools. But the DepEd was unable to actually give a proper document that is the latest version of what's actually being integrated in schools. So there was also talk about the angle of abuse, how children need to be taught about sexuality and unsafe situations so that they can navigate through abuse and exploitation. There was an alarming number that was always thrown around in the hearing. That was the 3,343 mothers that gave birth that were aged 10 to 14, if I'm not mistaken, in 2023. So that's thousands of mothers that are 10 to 14 who gave birth. And since we know that the age of sexual consent is 16, all of those might be considered, or so they argue that these are considered rape or statutory rape. So there's also the angle of how in child sexual exploitation, some parents are also the ones that are the perpetrators who are pimping out their children to online sex offenders. So one point raised by the PLCPD or the Child Rights Network is that how can we rely on the parents solely to teach their children or guide their children about sex when this is a reality in the Philippines that even parents are sexually abusing their children. So there were lots and lots of back and forth. It was a very long comprehensive hearing, but they did try and come together, and they did try to come with a way forward. And really all of the people in the room, despite their differing opinions, was that they wanted the best for their children. And so far, we're seeing that there is a possible suspension of the rules, given that that is what the Education Committee Chair recommended. And so that is what we will be following from now on in this particular issue on comprehensive sexuality education. So these are the latest updates on the debate from here at the Senate Committee hearing. Again, this has been Michelle Abad. Please continue watching our updates on this issue, on this story. I've been updating at the